Hi guys, and welcome back to another Starcraft Remastered replay cast, as once again we have a very interesting all South Korean engagement here on a 4 spawning location map. Let me just start by introducing the players to you guys as we have spawning here in the lower left in the brown. It is SIREN from the clan SG, and his opponent spawning here in the upper left part in the white. It is Best from the clan white, or Best actually known for his Protoss gameplay, but now it looks like he has decided to opt for Zerg. So quite interesting enough for him to go for Zerg. He's of course known to be one of the best Protoss player there is, but this time deciding to go for Zerg, perhaps trying a new strategy or a new tactic here onto a 4 spawning location map. So very soon we are going to be seeing the build order from the players, just like we've seen in the previous replays here onto this channel. Let's have a look exactly what they are going for. We see the overload for the Zerg. So it could be a fast spawning pool, but at the same time it could be also a fast expansion for him. The Terran opening up here very standardly with the supply depot next to his minerals. What exactly is his tactic going to be? Either mass bio with marines, with medics, firebats can be an option, or he might try some tanks with some Goliaths, with some vultures, some mech. Quite unusual, but we've also seen flash to this here on this channel, and he was quite successful, especially in the late game. So yeah, let's have a look what he is going to opt for. He's opening up with his barracks and also sending out here a scouting SCV, and the 2 scouts will actually meet here in the middle of the map, so very soon they should know exactly where the opponent is, so the overload might even try to be microed back. We see the fast expansion for Best, as there is no spawning pool yet for him, so quite interesting enough. He went for overload into fast expansion, and very soon he should of course continue with the spawning pool and with his gas as the SCV scouts this. And of course the SCV is going to stay here as long as he can, just to see exactly the timer from the tier 2 upgrade, or if there is going to be a tier 2 upgrade here for the Zerg. In the meantime, the Terran is still onto 1 barracks, might try to expand himself as the SCV is still here, giving important information for the Terran and what exactly is going on here into the main from the Zerg. So pretty standard stuff, fast expansion for the Zerg. And now the Terran also opting to go for a fast expansion after finishing his barracks. So it should be of course a transition into more barracks. Gas is also being started, so pretty standard stuff. We have the supply depot here. And the SCV of course is going to be chased away very soon with some Zerglings, as we see another hatchery being produced here for the Zerg, but actually I don't see it on the minimap. So right there it is. So macro hatch here for the Zerg. An interesting position for this one. Usually the Zergs like to go for a second expansion, either located very far away or nearby, but this time it's a macro hatch for Zerg into this location, so this could be a mid-risk rush. We also even mass Zerglings for him. Let's have a look what exactly his plans are, as he now also starts to mine some gas. Let's have a look at the Terran. A bunker will very likely be placed here by him for some defensive purposes. Let's see how this game is going to continue. Let's have a look at the main. We see some SCVs getting transferred. No other buildings yet, only some supply depots. Of course the production tab can be seen here in the upper left part, as the Terran now goes for a factory. Very soon some vultures could be added here by him, as vultures are very good versus the Zerglings. And he sees the tier 2 upgrade, which has just started now a couple of seconds ago. So like I told you, it's likely going to be some Mutalisk. Of course Mutalisk, much known strategy from the Zerg versus the Terran, as the SCV is still roaming around here, so the lives of a drone can be pulled here with him, but no such thing yet, as the SCV is very likely going to make it out alive here. And even a second SCV is interested in being sent out, so the Terran really wants to know what exactly Best is going for. Is he going to opt for some Hydralisk Purpose, or is it going to be Mutalisk? But the SCV might get surrounded here by Best, where taking quite some damage, and lots of Zerglings here actually for Best, so here 2 might get even cancelled it, and might even go for more Zerglings, as the bunker should have been finished. No, actually it's not being finished. Let's see, yes indeed, it is a bunker for SIREN, as of course he's fearing a mass attack with some Zerglings. We do actually see a spire for him, So it is indeed very likely going to be some Mutalisk over the Zerg versus the Terran that is actually starting his wall of here. I believe this should supply depot, yes indeed, and wall of pretty much completed, but speed hasn't been done yet. Actually, speed has been done for those Zerglings. The Zerglings could try a run by here to attack the ramp, and this is exactly why the Terran has added the vultures here, and actually a double factory for interesting enough. So this could be once again mass mech from the Terran versus the Zerg. Let's see if this is going to move out, as the Zerglings are also very close by. Notice how the Terran is hiding those vultures in the back. The vultures, of course, great counter towards all of those Zerglings in the back. And very soon the Spire is going to be finished, so we're going to be seeing some Mutalisk very soon. We also see speed for the vultures. Weapons 1 lurker attack. It's also been done here onto this one Hydralisk then, so it could be a transition into Hydralisk as well here for Zerg. Still no second expansion. Only a 2 base Zerg versus a 2 base Terran. It's funny, the vultures are moving out, so this is catching Best by surprise. Many Zerglings will fall here. He actually decides to engage, as speed has also been done for the vultures. The vultures very clearly on the upper hand versus the Zerg, so a sunken is the immediate reaction here for Best. He might even try to block the entrance here, as in come the speeding vultures, and it looks like the Hydras will be the counter towards that, but yeah, he really has to make sure to block the entrance here, as the sunken is going to be finished very soon, and with that he should be able to secure his base. At the same time, there is no second expansion like I told you, so the Terran is now very likely just going to move all around the map just to have as much vision as possible. Let's look at the main once again. Actually, it's mass Hydras here for Best, so no intentions for him into going for some Mutalisk. We have a reaction with a Goliath here for the Terran, so he's also expecting some Mutalisk, such thing yet for the Zerg. Even some turrets have been started now here for the Terran, but a nice tricky move here by Zerg. He really wants to finish the game very fast, and he's also upgrading the faster overload speed, so we might see some drops happening here for him. The vultures do see all of those Hydras. Speed will also be done very soon, as it looks like Best wants to secure his other expansion point. So very interesting move by him. He might even try to connect the expansions here with some creep, as the Terran is gaining more and more map awareness, more and more map control, moving out those vultures onto the map. And yeah, let's see how things will unfold, what the next steps are going to be here for Best. It is indeed yet another expansion as we're closing towards the 10-minute mark. So very interesting early game, completely out of the ordinary gameplay here for the Zerg. No Mutalisk for him, straight massive amounts of Hydralisk, and we could see a transition into some lurkers. We might even see him do a attack very soon, as he's just moving out now with Hydras and the Overlord. The Overlord, of course, can see the mines on the ground, and we have with another expansion attempt here for Best. So quite interesting at around the 8 minutes and 30-second mark, taking his 12 o'clock position, as more and more Hydras are getting added here by him. So like I told you, completely out of the ordinary. Even 2 macro hatches here, very far out into the main. Quite interesting build order here by Best, as the next expansions will finish very soon. So of course the Terran has to react to that very quickly, either attacking, just taking his expansion point. I believe he's going to be playing it safe, given the fact that it is a long replay. He might take his expansion there as well, as lots and lots of Goliaths with tanks have joined the army. Let's have a look at the upgrades. 1 weapons upgrades for him, and the Hydra still at 0-0, as they are now moving out massive amounts of Hydras, and they're nasty being able to snap those mines on the ground with the Overlords in the air. So very smart move here by him, and more Hydras are spreading out. I believe Best is going to try very likely to mass expand all over the map and gain the economic damage versus his opponent. But yeah, the Terran of course has to react. He also took his 6 o'clock position as we close towards the 10-minute mark. So a very interesting game. Mass Hydras here for Best. Is it going to work out? The tanks, of course, great counter towards those Hydras, but like I told you, if we're going to be seeing a drop happening here with some Overlords, it can be very deadly, as the Terran also decides to go for a starport. Some science vessels very likely to be seen very soon. Again, we see some Hydras move out. I believe some mines did get some connections, as the vultures are getting pretty much surrounded here by so many Hydras. Now finally we even have some Mutalisk in the air. So could this be a mass Hydra into mass Mutalisk transition? We're about to find out what exactly the plans here for West are, and the Terran of course looks very strong even versus the ground units and the air units. Goliaths of course a great counter. We do have some turrets up, and yeah, I don't think that those Mutalisk, actually it's many Mutalisk here for Best. Let's see what he can do here versus one turret, and the two turrets in the back. The Goliaths should of course be brought here over very soon, as it was just Best showing his Mutalisk. However, this base right here could be a little bit exposed, as it's a newly done base, as the Mutalisk are pretty much now roaming around the map, getting seen by the mines from the Terran. So the Terran all of a sudden has to play it a little bit more defensively. He has to transfer all of those Goliaths into this location. There are some turrets up, but there's also so many Mutalisk here. However, they take quite some damage out of the units from the Terran. So the Terran looks very nice into his defenses. Some SCVs sadly for him on idle. He's changed this very soon. Yeah, the Mutalisk give more control for the Zerg, as he can of course defend the expansions much better and force of course the Terran to stay back home. At the same time, some mines will be cleared here, and some vultures will also be intercepted by the Mutalisk. So yeah, very nice move by the Zerg, and a very interesting strategy here by him. Hydras into Mutalisk, a very rare strategy actually. Usually it's either mass Mutalisk or some transition into lurkers with some defilers. That's here we're going to be seeing some defilers, and yeah, it looks like the Zerg really wants to expand all over the map, taking yet another expansion here, having so much map control with those Hydras on the ground, with the Mutalisk in the air. So yeah, there is that expansion, and the Terran just tries of course to plant as many mines as possible, gain as much map control and map vision as possible. So yeah, we have a small stalemate here. The Terran very defensively here, and the Zerg pretty much just expanding all over the map, gaining more and more map control. This is going to turn out into a economic advantage here for him, as more and more mines are getting laid down. There's actually mass Hydras for him, 140 supply with mass Hydras and some Mutalisk for the Zerg. But the Terran sees now of course the expansions. He knows he has to act very quickly here to that, or the Zerg is going to gain the upper economic advantage. Some Mutalisk just roaming around the map. The vultures will of course be intercepted. So now the Terran knows that it is indeed a fast expansion, mass fast expansion tactic by the Zerg. He is slowly but steadily moving out his army to secure his other expansion points. He might try to take this expansion point as well to react with the two new bases from the Zerg, and yeah, he's trying of course to inflict economic damage with his vultures. Two drones have fallen, but yeah, the vultures also will fall here. Actually 4 drones have fallen, so pretty good engagement here by him. But yeah, if you look at the worker count, 53 already here for Best, and 65 for the Terran. Best of course very soon transfer the drones into the newly established bases. We see many more buildings being created. Finally we see the Defiler mount, a much needed unit into the late game, and more buildings, actually massive amounts of hatcheries here for him. It's pretty much going to mass produce units into this location and just send them out into the map towards the Terran. But the Terran of course is nicely prepared for that, with some tanks, 1-to-1 upgrades, Goliaths versus the air, and even the science vessel to give vision against the lurkers. So in the end he is looking very good, but economic wise he might be losing the pace versus the Zerg, as more and more drones are getting transferred here by him. And you can clearly see that the lower part is in control of the Terran, the upper part more in control of the Zerg, as even some overlords are getting brought here forward. And it looks like the Zerg is reacting. They're likely going to attack the newly established base from the Terran, but the Terran has a good position here on the high ground. The Goliaths will get some good connections. I don't think if Best should engage here, as it's a very good position for the Terran on the high ground, and those Goliaths also getting some good connections. So the first battle goes here in favor for SIREN, as he's able to even snap a overload. Some Mutalisk have fallen, some Hydras here as well, and that the Terran feels now confident. He knows he has to react towards the newly established bases here for the Zerg, as he's now moving out with his forces. He's almost maxed out. So he really wants to punish the fast economic advantage here for the Zerg. The Zerg might try to counterattack, but it looks like the Terran really is not going to allow this to happen, as he's now moving out with his units and some Zerglings just to recover. Actually have mass queens for the Zerg, so what a great strategy here by him. Mass queen versus all of those tanks, but they don't have energy. Immediately getting some radiate, and now he has to micro them out of danger. So a good reaction here by Best with those queens. Some tanks are falling, but is it going to be enough? As said here for Best, not all of his units were attacking, some have been left behind. So interesting strategy. The Hydra should be okay versus the Goliaths, but it's the tanks in the back that are of course the real damage dealers, and of course the queens are moving forward with the Broodlings just sniping tank after tank. Is it going to be enough, as the Goliaths have fallen in, but now it's just a couple of Zerglings being left here versus tanks. And yeah, reinforcements are pulling forward for the tanks, but is it going to be enough? Will they reach it on time? There it is, Goliaths, and to back up the other units. So the queen's a great counter, and now this seems to be the counter for the Goliaths. So interesting strategy here for the Zerg, as it's mech versus Hydras and queens. Yeah, it looks like the tanks moving more and more forward, and the queens taking more and more damage. Let's have a look once again onto those upgrades. 2 upgrades here, very good upgrades for the Terran, as the Zerglings are going forward with 0 to 2 for the Hydras, and 0-0 actually for Zerglings. A much better position now here for the Terran, as he's moving forward. His units really wants to kill this expansion, and maybe this expansion here as well, and perhaps the main buildings from the main Zerg army. Some English are getting pretty much sacrificed here. It's Radiance, it's Goliaths. Things are shooting down. The Hydras are a little bit of a desperate move by Best. Did have the high ground, but in the end the Terran stood his chance and just waiting for those queens to regain their mana and to snipe more and more of those tanks as the expansion continues now, this time for the Terran, as he's adding more and more of those expansions. So interesting enough, there is no attack into the newly established bases for the Zerg. They're not even nicely protected here by the Zerg. And yeah, let's see for how long the Zerg can actually last. He has so many Hydras. He might try a drop. In this location would be perfect for a drop, and then moving on into the production buildings, as the Terran is now having more and more units forward and sniping more and more of those units. There's mass Hydras here indeed, but the tanks will of course be a great counter towards that. Also many Goliaths in the front to give cover, even vultures, and finally we have the Fighters. The Fighters could be the winning move here for Best, giving protection towards all of those units. The Radiance has been casted into the Defiler. Slowly but steadily, this time the Zerg is moving forward, sniping unit after unit, and still not taking damage of course, but the foot tanks. This all of a sudden looks very good for the Zerg, as he's able to snipe unit after unit. The Dark Zone once again shows his presence. The mines are now getting some good connections, as some units from the Terran and from the Zerg would focus. But yeah, the Zerg just keeps on moving more and more forward, forming into the Dark Zone, and now more and more even Lurkers are coming out. The Lurkers of course much needed unit as well for the late game into dealing splash damage. They also deals quite some damage out of the tanks and out of the Goliaths. Yeah, slowly but steadily we're closing towards the 20-minute mark. The Terran holds his ground. He has more supply than the Zerg, so I don't know if this strategy is going to work out for Best. This side was with the Defilers. He's just losing way too many units, but his economy is still looking very strong. Much stronger than his opponent. Let's not forget that he has massive amounts of treacheries at home. He can replenish his forces very quickly. A nice defensive matrix. The Zerg just keeps on pushing more and more of those units forward, but it's pretty much a bloodbath. The tanks in the back just deal so much splash damage towards their opponents. Very interesting game indeed we have here. We will be passing the 20-minute mark soon. This expansion has been sniped by the Zerg. This one, however, pretty much alive and pretty much nicely guarded with some Goliaths and some tanks. And yeah, it's still anyone's game, but those tanks in the back perhaps got many kills as 7 kills onto this one, 5 and so on, and in come the queens would take them out, and this could be the winning move here by Best. He has the high ground, the reinforcements are pulling forward. and tanks are still pretty much alive, and so many kills onto those tanks, like I told you. Very important unit to have as the Terran. And luckily here for the Terran, the reinforcements just on time give cover to all of those units, and even a nice irradiance onto the Queen. More and more units are getting good here for the Zerg, still responding with Hydras. Perhaps he's going to transition in some Ultra Risk. I believe the Ultra Risk should be the only logical answer here for the Zerg. Even have a Nidus here, so he might transition into mass Zerglings with Ultra Risk. Even some Guardians would be interesting to see, but yeah, slowly but steadily the Terran is gaining more and more ground, just snapping more and more of those units. Even the mines will get some good connections here against all of those Hydras, massive amounts of Hydras indeed. Yeah, massive amounts of splash damage out of the Terran versus the units. And yeah, more and more is getting brought forward, and let's see how Hydras take so much damage. They are, however, very fast. Some Zerglings will connect perhaps with some mines. And Zerglings being pulled forward. The tank holds his ground here, and I believe Pest should of course transition into some Ultra Risk very soon. We'll see no Ultra Risks, just some upgrades and some Zerglings with some Hydras, and the mine will might get a good connection here once it versus those units. Yes, indeed, the mine just dealing massive amounts of splash damage. If the Ultra Risk is much needed now, Best very likely knows this. The Terran just keeps on gaining more and more ground. Even some units have been snapped here in the back. I believe he had tried to attempt a drop, but yet the Terran just pretty much holding his ground. Let's check his upgrades once again. 2 to 3 important upgrades for those tanks. Queens tried to answer here with some hoodlings, but in the end the Terran just gains more and more ground and just keeps on sniping the units. Even one lone Goliath here being untouched, as the tanks now just pretty much marching forward, just killing everything the Zerg is throwing towards the base. So that if the tactic is not really working out for Best, pretty much a mass tactic for him. Looks like he is losing this game slowly but steadily. Let's have a look. If he's going to transition into Ultra Risk, he might have a chance with Defilers, with even Zerglings. Even mass Zerglings with Defilers could be an answer against this. But he has to hurry up as the Terran is now moving forward with his tanks, just pretty much sieging up, just doing more and more damage. And now some drones have to be anchored out of danger, as the Terran has also taken this expansion right here. So we have a nice attempt here by the Lurker to deal good amount of splash damage. Life has moved 9 kills already for this one, so very good stuff here by the Zerg into countering the newly established base. But at the same time he did lose 2 bases, as the newly established bases will now have to regain the economic advantage for him. See for how long is he going to be able to hold. All of a sudden all of those units very close to the main base from the Zerg and to the expansion point. It'll be very hard for him to move out. Even one science vessel tried to an irradiance, but not really worked out for him. However, more and more map awareness, more and more map control here for the Terran. As you can see, lots and lots of units by the Zerg, but he really has to somehow clump them together just to get a good surround versus the Terran. And let's see, -1 is still here. Some drones are getting transferred. This expansion has to be uplifted, as there is indeed one Lurker here, so Lurker can play very strong from the Zerg into disrupting the economy from the Terran. And still no movement onto the map, as we see actually the units getting transferred here. Perhaps the Terran is going to try to attack this location right here. There is a -1, however, massive amounts of units here for the Zerg being transferred into another location, so the Zerg might try to react into attacking the newly established bases from the Terran. Is it going to be enough, as he's just moving out so many Zerglings and so many Hydras? 2 upgrades onto the Zerglings, Hydras also 2 to 3, so very strong upgrades for him. The Terran is still establishing this base point right here, as indeed the Zerglings are now pouring forward for the Zerg, and this 2 choke points will be very important for the Terran to hold. Let's see, the tanks in the back should of course be sieged up. There are some sieged up tanks, some mines could be added here by him, and the Zerg is pretty much going to commit here forward. He's very fast with his Zerglings, and let's have a look how this is going to unfold. Some splash damage will be dealt here. Finally the Defiler is casting his Dark Swarm, and yeah, more and more units are pulling forward here for the Zerg. Massive amounts of units actually here for him, like a non-stop train, and all of a sudden the Terran is in great danger, as he's being attacked into the Dark Swarm, so he has to out-micro the Dark Swarm, but at the same time the units here moving forward All of a sudden the tactic from Best is actually working out very well. Not that many units here to defend. The Zerglings have made it forward into the newly established base. The tanks are reacting immediately here, attacking the main base from the Zerg, as the Terran all of a sudden in some serious trouble. He's taking more and more damage. The units have been sniped here, some SCVs are still alive. Both players are taking quite some damage, and all of a sudden more and more units are pulling forward. If there would have only been a defiler here for the Zerg, we would have been able to be so much more in a better situation, as the tanks would have gave so much more damage. And somehow the tanks do hold. Now it's important to snipe all of the hatcheries from the opponent, as the Zerg is pretty much in control of the newly established base. This base already has been taken out, but the tanks here in the back are very strong. However, the Zerg with a very fast move out, being able to snipe so many of the units. And yeah, now some nuclears are pretty much going to engage all of the remaining tanks. But remember, it's upgraded tanks and they're very strong into sniping building after building. And if you look at the amount of the supply, 91 supply, Best is still into this game. He has to retreat now, he has to regroup, as the Terran might also try to regroup his units in the middle of the map. We're very likely going to be seeing an engagement very soon in the middle of the map. Nucleus are still chasing those tanks away, and yeah, looks like now the Terran is very likely going to transition into the newly established bases here for the Zerg. So what an interesting game we have indeed here, as the tank is also taking this expansion right here, and he's moving out with his units straight forward to the newly established bases. I don't know if Best can hold this. There's still so many tanks, good upgrades for him. Luckily he also has a supply depot flying in the air, as it's giving, actually it's a science vessel, giving him more vision here for his units. So massive amounts of Zerglings with Hydras were very good into sniping the expansions, but in the end it looks like the Terran still has the upper hand. The Zerg is going to try, of course, to come in from the back, but the siege tanks are nicely spread here. He has to make his move coming forward. The tanks are nicely spread. More and more damage is being taken. Lots and lots of Zerglings are pulling here forward. Let's see if he's going to somehow be able to kill all of those tanks, but it doesn't look really like it, as even a defensive matrix has been nicely used. And now tanks in the front. Zerglings try, of course, to get a good surround, get a good position, but there's so many tanks, they don't even have to siege up here, and the Zerg, sadly for him, losing more and more of his units, and very soon he's going to be losing his expansion. So let's see if Best still has a good economy. He might even try to go for mass Zerglings and Hydras, but I believe the lack of defilers was his mistake here. With some defilers the game would have been different. Just pretty much went straight into mass. Now even has to pull some drones into fighting, but yeah, those tanks of course not move. And there's the GJS. A very interesting game, but sadly here for Best, I believe the lack of defilers was his end. So if he would have had some more defilers into Dark Swarm, the game would have been different here for him. A very interesting strategy by him. Massive amounts of units not working out very well versus the mass tanks on the ground. Upgraded tanks, let's have a look at the statistic once again. So yeah, at one point he did great comeback with those units sniping the expansions from the Terran, even 3 expansion all of a sudden at once. A very fast pace for Best. But yes, just having those tanks in the back guarded by Guardians, sorry, by Goliaths and Vultures, giving him the victory. So very interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Tommy signing out.